there's a lot of outgoings. It's easier said than done. And I'm saving the Berta segment, but I think for me, on top of the obvious, one of the most impressive things I think he could do is get us some of these players off the wage bill. Football's weird. Like someone like a Fabio Vieira, they might look like damaged goods and they might be reintegrated into the first team. I don't know, because I don't expect all the players to come in and all the players to go. Do you think, and this question kind of says it, are we too harsh on Arteta simply because he hasn't won? City had fewer injuries, spent 210 mil in January. Pep is a better manager, but Arteta is still above City. Where are you at with that?
I mean, look, we can always look at the great job Mikel Arteta has done. Every single season, you could look at the great things he's done and the bad things he's done. I'm failing to see how this season, if it finishes trophyless, is anything but a failure. From top to bottom, we were supposed to win the league. If I said to you before a ball's kicked, guess what, DG? City are falling off. You'd be like, oh, finally, we're going to win the league. And
that was the sentiment they said at Arsenal, yeah.
It was. We were told Pep was too good. Now Pep's not very good. We're still going to win as much as him. It seems that, you know what, they could even win more than us if they win the FA Cup, and they could have a better season. You know what I'm saying? They could actually end up with a better season. So I think for me, saying, oh, Arteta's still done a great job, he's unbelievable that he's got us in second. It's not unbelievable he's got us in second. Like, I haven't looked at this Liverpool side and thought they were crap, but I've not looked at them and gone, wow, I ain't catching them. They're ridiculously good. I mean, like, Invincibles, forget that. This Liverpool side are in town. No, man, they're not. Like, they're a good side, but we should be right up there with them. It should be us that's capitalising on it. Yeah. Liverpool have had injuries. Yeah, they've not been as bad as ours, but they've had injuries. They have had Alisson out for months. They had Jota out for months. They had Konate out for 3 months. They've had problems with Curtis Jones in midfield. They've had Szoboszlai in and out the side. There's only Salah and Van Dijk, and even Trent's been injured, to be fair, and Robertson. But Salah and Van Dijk haven't been injured. And they've been, all of a sudden, people are like, well, that's not fair. Yes, it is fair. Like, Saka and Gabriel and Saliba haven't been injured for the whole of last season, pretty much. So you can't sit there and say that, last season we were very lucky with injuries. We got hardly any, and we still didn't win the league. This season, they've had injuries and they're still going to win the league. So I think we can't use injuries and excuses. If you want to say we got injuries, you're right. What should we have done about that then? Should we not have done something more about it in the summer or in January when we've got no strike force and we're still not doing anything about it? So Arsenal have got exactly what they deserve. Now, Mikel Arteta is a big part of that, because when we did have Saka and Ødegaard and Partey fit and everybody fit, we couldn't beat Everton at home. We couldn't beat Fulham. We couldn't beat Chelsea. We couldn't go into the Inter Milan game and win. We couldn't beat Atalanta. We weren't able to go and beat Bournemouth and Newcastle with these players fit. So why is it that we look now and go, oh, well, this is all the injuries that have cost us? Actually, nah. We
Hopium and hopium.
Players fit. You know that. We've dropped more points with players fit than we have injured. When we've had them injured, we've actually picked up a lot more points. We've got more game. I think we've got more points for games ratio without Saka than with him. It's actually crazy when you look at the stats. So, yeah, we've lost games against Bournemouth and Newcastle. We couldn't beat Manchester City. We weren't able to beat Brighton home or away. We weren't able to beat Fulham. We weren't able to beat Everton. We weren't able to beat Chelsea. We couldn't beat Atalanta or Inter Milan. Saka was fit for every single one of those games I've just mentioned. So there can't be an excuse. We've got injuries. Liverpool have injuries. They deal with them. Manchester City have had an injury to Rodri, right? And they've struggled. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because, oh my God, like that's it, Rodri FC? Or do you think it's because they haven't got no replacement or cover for Rodri? What have they done in January? They've gone and spent 200 million because they know.
And you know what's going to happen in the summer as well.
And you know it's going to be 300 million in the summer. They'll be back next season. They might not win the league, but they'll be back 100%. So when people say, oh, but we're ahead of Manchester City, yeah, the worst Manchester City you've seen in the decade, we're now ahead of. Brilliant. But we ain't won anything by that. So Liverpool have gone, oh, yeah, we'll take our chance. And Arsenal were going, Sterling, go on then, Sterling, let's go. Oh, we didn't win it. Of course we didn't bloody win it. We bought Sterling. That's why. If we would have gone and got bloody Kvaratskhelia and Isak, or if it wasn't Isak, Gyökeres, players that were £63 million for Gyökeres and £63 million for Kvaratskhelia. Come on, man. Those two take us to the next level. We'd be playing them in our first team right now. With Martinelli coming off the bench, with Kai Havertz coming off the bench when he was fit, Saka obviously coming back into the mix, Ethan now as a squad player, looking at the likes of Ødegaard starting and mixing it up, Trossard still coming from the bench as an impact player. This is what we would have needed this season, but we decided, nah, we're going to try and put the kids on the bench and try and see what Ethan can do. And I love Ethan, but that's not fair on a kid, man. So this is where I'm at now. I feel like we've got massive, massive problems with what we've done in the last few. And Yeah, this season I look back at it as a failure if we don't win the Champions League, mate. I really do. There's no way you can say it's a success, DG. Success is doing that. Yeah, Newcastle have had a successful season. If Manchester City get fourth to top four and win the FA Cup, they've had a successful season. Manchester United win the Europa League, they've had a successful season. Dare I say, if Spurs do it, they've had a
God
successful.
forbid.
Yeah, God forbid. Arsenal, unless we win the Champions League, we're going to be the only team again in the top four that can say we haven't got Chelsea, Conference Cup they can win, Newcastle, League Cup they've won, Liverpool, Premier League Cup they've won, Man City favourites for the FA Cup, Manchester United and Spurs still a chance of the Europa League just like us. Now, I will say, I don't think either of them will win it, yeah? But unfortunately, Arsenal are in the same bracket. No one has Arsenal to win the Champions League either. So for me, it has to be a Champions League title. Otherwise, it's a failure. If we don't win the Champions League, that's the only way it can be successful is if we win the Champions League now. And like, don't get me wrong, Arteta deserves a bloody miracle worker if we win that, because
Yeah.
to go and win that with no strike force is insane.
And that's the thing, man. It's like, I do think when you have to look at Arsenal, you have to look at it with balance. I feel some are far too negative. I feel some are far too positive. I won't go as far as to say I'll give Mikel Arteta credit, but I give you quote unquote credit for at least maintaining second with all of these injuries. But then again, how far does that go? Yes, I'm well aware of we were back to back eighth. You've helped turn us around and return. Not Arteta's brought the standards. You've helped remind everybody at this football club of the high standards Arsenal previously had. And ultimately, you're dying by those kind of standards. I feel Arteta, you're a good coach, all of that kind of stuff. But now it's about getting over the line. Since we won the FA Cup, as Dan said, we haven't done too well there. When it was sink or swim in the League Cup, which has been a familiar case, we've never done that. It's 3 years of explaining. And obviously, it's easy for me to say. You look in the 2022-23 season where it was just Saliba's injury and how much that derailed stuff. Last season, relatively injury-free. We still missed Timber, and God knows what he would have been if he never had that ACL. We still had Tomiyasu and Partey injured. This year, obviously, we've been dealt an unfair hand, but we know as a club we need depth. We know we've needed to build on the quality players we have. We know we've needed to address specific areas in the squad. And whether it's one player or all 11, we know how vital injuries can have. And with all of that, and Arsenal can't be held accountable for conditions. Nobody predicted injuries. Nobody predicted referee decisions and all of those things. But what you can do is control the controllables. We knew last season about our issues with low blocks, and I haven't seen us. I'm not saying a year comes and ultimately every low block we blow out the water, but we fail at any sort of occasion 9 times out of 10 with that. I do think Mikel Arteta, from a tactical point of view, needs to evolve. I do think where we're looking at being winners, you cannot rely on all of our attackers apart from Saka. They could all chip in, but he's the only definite one that's going to score goals. So there's a case with recruitment. We're still relying on certain injured players. I think it's a case of, it's like we're standing in the rain and complaining we're wet, and people can do all that Liverpool stuff. People did say Liverpool would fall off this season. They never had them in top 4 shouts. Now they've won the league. Equally, as Dan said earlier, people were saying when the Super City team falls off, we're the ones to pounce. And I think from the summer to January, we've been complacent. Now it's not just on Mikel Arteta, it's on the whole football club. I have the most luxuries for the players because they're not picking stuff, and I think they've been sold a dream a bit like our club. We didn't handle business in the summer and bring in any game changers. We didn't do anything in January. It was the Gabriel Jesus one. It wasn't even Saka's injury that tipped the balance and made us think, oh, we need to act. We didn't do anything. We was offered Ollie Watkins. Now, I'm not saying it's necessarily wrong or right to spend 60 million on Watkins, but we didn't proactively go out for him. Now, I do think I just think it's been a mixed bag in the last 2 windows, but ultimately we're doing a lot of explaining. And for me, it's about getting over the line. I asked the gal this year, and I'm pretty sure he'll answer a lot differently than you, shouted gal, but I asked him, are Arsenal fans entitled? Now, I know social media and YouTube, it's extreme opinions, toxic positive, and all the negative stuff and all of those kind of things. But I personally think, if I'm giving credit to Mikel Arteta for being a good coach and doing all of these things and being second and all of those things, we've got some of the best players in world football, our 2 centre-backs and Saka and whatnot. We've got close, but never quite got there. I don't see any reason why it's unfair to ask, why haven't we got a Premier League trophy, or why haven't we done better in the domestic trophies? We're Arsenal Football Club. City were never the City in my lifetime they are now, neither was Chelsea, but they've got into new ground. Why I mention that is, I don't think any normal fan is expecting us to win stuff week in, week out. But I don't think it's wrong to say, you know what, there's been a drought with 5 years. If I rate the manager and the players so highly, why have we not got over the line? Like, do you think Arsenal fans are too entitled? Because Igal kind of alluded to we are. Big him up.
Oh, I would say to Miguel that he doesn't understand what the word entitled means then, because if we are supposed to be entitled fan base that's waited 30 years for a European trophy, over 30 for a League Cup, 5 for an FA Cup and 21 for a Premier League title, that to me shows that we are not entitled and we are one of the most patient fan bases for the biggest club in the Big Six. I look at it right now and I feel like a club of our size, there's no way that we should be waiting this long for a trophy. The last trophy we celebrated was 8 years ago, bro, because the one 5 years ago we weren't allowed out of our houses for. So this is the not an entitled fan base. This is a patient fan base. So for Igal to say we're entitled is mad. I think it's an excuse as to fail why we failed. He thinks, oh, we shouldn't be winning. We shouldn't be winning. If you say you're entitled, it means you shouldn't be winning. This is entitled for me is like, I don't know, say a Spurs fan saying, well, why haven't we won the Champions League for the last 5 years? Well, don't be entitled. You got to be realistic. For me, we need to be realistic, but we also need to understand that, yeah, I'm not asking for a treble every year, by the way. I'm not asking for us to do the quadruple here. I'm asking for us to deliver a League Cup. I'm asking us to deliver Champions League football.
We're actually a good team. Why have we not done it?
Yeah, man. Look, if this was the Arsenal we picked up, I would be realistic and go, oh, this is going to take a few years. Look at the mess of it, right? This is a good squad. Yeah, it's not quite good enough yet to get across the line, but that's the problems of the manager and the board, in my opinion. But this should be able to win a trophy. It should be able to challenge. It challenged last year. It should be able to challenge and win a trophy. And if you're telling me this squad isn't good enough to go and get a League Cup over the line, then you're deluded, if I'm honest with you. So entitlement for me is Manchester City getting the hump and saying Pep needs to go, the club needs to be sold, the owners need to be out because we didn't win the league this season. That's entitlement. Yeah. They've done a four-peat. They've done Champions Leagues. They've done trebles. They've done cups. They've done League Cups out their backside. They've done FA Cups. They've done doubles. They've done Premier Leagues. They've done 4 in a row.
They've won the league with no striker.
They won the league with no striker. Manchester City fans moaning and screaming and crying. Yeah, that is entitlement for me because, hang on a minute, you've had like the best decade you could have in football.
Yeah, just relax for a sec. You can't win every time.
Someone else is turned this side right this season. And they might even win another trophy this season, the FA Cup, right? I hope they don't. I hope Bournemouth beat him, but we'll see. With Arsenal, anyone that says Arsenal fans are entitled, you are absolutely deluded.
It's gaslighting.
Bruv. And like, look, I love Igal. I've got a lot of time for Igal. Me and him don't always agree,
Same.
but I look at it and I think if he believes we are entitled, what does he see as the kind of long term here then? When is he expecting us to win the title? They can't tell you, these fans. So they'll say to me, oh, it's a bit harsh that you're going in on the manager.
They're in love with the journey versus the destination, generally speaking.
And they're in love with the manager's CV over the club. That's what they're in love with. They're in love with Arteta doing it. Like, to me, if you said to me now, we've won the league, I wouldn't go, right, could you tell me who the manager is then? Because it's really important to know that. I'd go, bloody hell, we won the league. Yeah, I don't care who the manager is. I wouldn't give a damn. I'd have my opinion on whether I think they're good enough or not. Yeah, I personally don't think Mikel Arteta will win us a Premier League title. I don't.
But you get your plaudits.
But if he does it, big up Champions League.
Big up, because that's what we want.
That's what.
And why would we want the manager to do it? Because you're in the job.
100%. I want Mikel Arteta to be the most successful Arsenal manager ever because he's our manager right now.
Same goes for the players.
And I want all of them to deliver. But unfortunately, you've got these people that when you go, I'm not quite sure. Are you joking? Of course he's the right man.
You're negative.
Evidence as to why he is
Look
there.
where he took us from.
Look, give me evidence right now that suggests he's going to win us the Champions League and the Premier League that you're telling me he's going to. Give me the evidence. They can't do it. So I say to them, well, when we're going to win the league then? Well, no, just give me the year. Don't say world. Just give me the year. Give me the year. Is it 2026? Is it 2030? Is it 2028? Tell me they can't do it. Oh, well, it depends. What we need is everything to go our own way. And Igal does this a lot. Igal will say, well, Manchester City are going to fall off. Liverpool are going to lose all their players. And I think, hang on a minute, stop.
But we need to control the controllables placed our way. Yeah.
Everybody has to be crap around us to win the league. Is that what we're saying? Shouldn't be about that, DG. It should be you've got a good side, you've got a good side, and you've got a good side. You three as a trio, go for that Premier League title next season. Let's see who's good enough. It shouldn't be, well, you can't judge it like that. Hopefully De Bruyne will leave, and then hopefully Foden won't be as good as like this season. Then we get Van Dijk, Salah, and Trent that are all leaving. Hopefully United and Spurs and Chelsea and all that, they keep dropping off because they're being funny to watch. Hopefully all the others won't be back. Come on, man. You can't look at it like that. You've got to look at it when that window shuts. That team, that squad there right now, that Arsenal squad's good enough to win the Champions League and the Premier League. That's what I want to be saying. And if I'm not saying that, I'm going to be pissed again, bruv, and people are going to hate hearing me because I've been saying this for a long time and it's becoming exhausting now. So this is where I'm at. And, there might be a day, well, there is going to be a day one day when Mikel Arteta isn't the manager of Arsenal. And what do we do? Yardman said it yesterday with me. What do we do?
Big
Just
him
shut
up.
the club down then? Do we just shut the club down? No, Arteta's leaving, people. It's been a pleasure, but we better go support Dial Square now because Arsenal's finished. No, it's not, man. We go again, yeah? That's crazy. I don't get it.
And for me, it's like, you know, I want Arteta to do his thing. I think that Mikel Arteta in-out stuff is a bit redundant. But at some point, we're going to have to ask ourselves, he's rebuilt the club, did all of that, but you might not be the one to get over the line. And there is rhetoric behind that because every time we cannot get over it. Obviously, it's not all him, but ultimately it's on the manager. We haven't got over it. And I think fans want to have it both ways. You can't bring up all of these great stats around how good we were in 2024, the defensive stats, the offensive stats, the set pieces, all the tactical stuff. You can't big up our individual players and the manager and not hold them with balance to those standards and ask a fair question, why haven't we got over the line? Above all, beyond the reasons why I and you as fans would want to win trophies, it's because it can't be nice for these players. Some for club and country have come up second best. Some have obviously gone out of cups, probably going to go out the champs, but we hope for the best. Smoked in this league in which I think Liverpool are better than us at this moment in time because they're 12, 13, 14 points off. But are they 12, 13, 14 points better than us? Obviously on paper, yes, but there's no reason as to why we've regressed this much. There is, but there's no